All right, I've been wanting to talk with you a little bit about this story, but I wanted to wait until I had this format so that I could actually show you documentation, show you some video, and try to explain what's going on. This is going to be about the lawsuit that Bay County Commissioner Tommy Hamm has filed against Netflix and against Sony. Who remembers the Immigration Nation story? You remember that? And it claimed that Tommy Hamm didn't pay his illegal alien workers when they were building after Hurricane Michael. It was quite something. I'm going to show you a little bit of the video. Also, I'm going to show you tonight my story about Tommy Hamm, because that didn't surprise me. I'd been hearing things and reporting pretty shocking things about the commissioner, who is also a home builder. Okay, understand that my problem with a lot of local politicians is this. You can be a home builder or you can be a county commissioner. But when you are both and you are voting on things that benefit you and your friends and your family, and you have to recuse yourself from votes because of the conflict of interest, it's not right. We've got two county commissioners. Robert Carroll is an engineer. He's actually the engineer of record for Panama City Beach's government. So that's an issue, all right? And before I go any further, I want to encourage you to share this, because the news isn't going to do it. So if you want to have other people find out more details about local government, I don't know when. I'm not going to have a regular schedule coming on, but I do want to encourage you to share it, because I promise you, local news outlets are not going to give you the analysis that I'm going to give you. And that's how you can do it. Now, I know a little bit about defamation lawsuits because I have been sued twice by public figures. Once by Councilman Hector Solis and another by city manager Mario Gisbert's girlfriend at the time and contractor, a limited purpose public figure, Jennifer Walgamot. They both lost because they were bogus lawsuits. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that as well. So let's do this. I'll be looking at your comments. I'll be trying to answer your comments as I fly this ship. I'm still learning how to do this, so bear with me. But let's start with this. I want to show you the story I did on Tommy Hamm when Immigration Nation on Netflix came out, all right? Because it was right after I had reported that Tommy Hamm stiffed a worker that he had hired, a subcontractor that he had hired. She says that he didn't pay her $10,000. It got crazy. Here it is. Commissioner Tommy Hamm has a serious problem. Netflix has a new documentary out, and they say he's committed massive wage theft. Hamm is a home builder, and he owns Winterfell Construction. A few months ago, I told you that Hamm had refused to pay a subcontractor, a single mom, for work that she'd rendered. She says Hamm owes her about $10,000. Commissioner Hamm asked the sheriff's office to have her arrested. He says that she was threatening him and his family. The sheriff disagreed. Now we know this isn't the first time Hamm has done this. It's called Immigration Nation, and episode 4 shows that Hamm had more than 100 immigrants working for him after Hurricane Michael. They say he made them work for several weeks, and then he refused to pay them. This is exactly what Higbee Construction says Hamm did to them. When they asked for their money, he threatened them with the sheriff's office. Hamm asked for Nicole Higbee and her family to be arrested, but the sheriff's office found that Hamm was not threatened in any way. Hamm claims that his wife and children were in fear for their lives when representatives of the workers peacefully knocked on his door. Hamm even said that his children would need therapy now and that his family would have to move out of their fancy home. Local news outlets like WMBB know about all of this, but they hide it from you. News director Tom Lewis was interviewed in the documentary. But one thing he won't do is report on his political friends unless the pressure is too great to ignore it. Hamm's fellow county commissioners knew as well. The workers spoke at a county commission meeting last year.
We've If you'll please translate and make it quick, please.
So I worked for Winterfell Construction, picking up debris. My children worked doing demolition and construction in residential homes for 3 months without ever receiving any payment. We worked without any type of safety equipment. In fact, we had to purchase our own harness. We have proofs, we have receipts. We worked sometimes until 2 in the morning on roofs. I even suffered an accident at work and injured my knee, but still I never received any medical assistance. I have to get an x-ray, and it's $500 to pay for that. With Winterfell, we worked on his mother's house.
Mr. Sony, that, once again, we are attacking an individual business or person. That discussion is ended. We're not going to do that today, and it sounds like that's what this speech is about. So,
all the commissioners circled the wagons for their colleague. For them, loyalty comes before honor. Commissioner Keith Baker was arrested a couple months ago for fraud. Tommy Hamm and Robert Carroll themselves are mired in several deep conflicts of interest. The St. Joe Company has a business relationship with Hamm, who even has his own page on St. Joe's website. The Netflix documentary shows Commissioner Hamm doing to hardworking immigrants precisely what he did to the single mom: hold back payments for weeks, then refuse to pay them anything by saying the work was subpar, then threatening to have the sheriff's office arrest them. Yes, Commissioner Tommy Hamm has a serious problem, and so does every commissioner who continues to cover for him. It's quite a story, isn't it? So that all happened, I believe it came out in August of last year, and Commissioner Hamm really didn't say much about it. I asked him personally, but he said that it was still under investigation and he couldn't talk about it. But he did go on WMBB and talk about it a little bit, and he threatened to sue everybody, and he finally has. So let's take a look at what a public figure like Commissioner Tommy Hamm is, especially in the public arena. What do they have to do to actually win a lawsuit? That story prompted this, and this came, about a month ago or so. Here is when it was announced that Commissioner Hamm was striking back.
Bay County Commissioner is suing media giant Netflix tonight after he says a controversial docuseries spread false information about him and his private company to millions of Americans. As News 13's Erica Orstad tells us, he's suing for thousands of dollars in damages.
The release of Netflix's popular series Immigration Nation has sparked controversy.
These workers are being exploited, no doubt. They're being exploited by Netflix for subscriptions.
Bay County Commissioner Tommy Hamm responding in an August 11th interview to the docuseries accusations of wage theft. It alleges his private company, Winterfell Construction, didn't pay immigrant workers for work they had done. But this week, he's firing back. The 100-page lawsuit states that not only were the allegations made against Tommy Hamm false, but that the filmmakers knew they were false when they released the docuseries. Since then, Hamm says he's received death threats, and there's been a push on social media to cancel the commissioner. The lawsuit states that defendants were aware that the workers in question were employed by someone other than Hamm. It claims Winterfell Construction tried to help them get their money from that subcontractor, but was refused any names or relevant information from the defendants accusing Hamm. In August, when we interviewed now defendant Saket Soni, executive director of the Resilience Force representing those workers in the docuseries, he said this:
"We're not going to provide him with a list of names so that he can go after them."
The lawsuit states Hamm has suffered emotional distress and humiliation as a result of the allegations, and he and his company have both suffered significant damage to their reputations. In a statement, his attorneys say Tommy Hamm took legal action to protect his family, his business, and himself against what the lawsuit explains is a fabricated story the public has been misled into believing to be true. The complaint lays out in detail what happened to Tommy and Winterfell and why they believe those to blame should be held accountable for the consequences of their actions.
It's total fabrication, it's defamation, and they're using it to profit from it.
Hamm is suing for damages in excess of $30,000. We've reached out to both Netflix and Sony for a comment on the matter, and we have yet to receive a response from either. You can find the full lawsuit on our website, mypanhandle.com. In Panama City, Erica Orstad, News 13, Panhandle Strong.
Now, Tommy Hamm has some high-powered attorneys. You got a couple of big attorneys from Tampa. But let me explain to you a little bit about defamation law when it comes to public figures. Now, I know a little bit about this because while I'm not an attorney, I play one in real life. All right. I've been sued twice. I've had to defend myself for being a watchdog. And the bogus lawsuits, the bogus defamation lawsuits against me, well, they came back right when I was about to run for office in Panama City Beach. They were hit jobs. And the first one was by Jennifer Walgamot. Jennifer Walgamot was the girlfriend at the time of Panama City Beach city manager Mario Gisbert. And there was a very suspicious contract that took place. And I asked questions about it, and they didn't answer. Well, now they have been subpoenaed by the FBI. Here's my record. I've been sued for defamation twice, once by Councilman Hector Solis and once by Jennifer Walgamot, both public figures. She's a public figure in the area of contracting, getting contracts with government. Both people who have sued me for defamation have found themselves subpoenaed by the FBI. That's going to be my goal. Anytime I get sued, I want the people who sue me to end up being subpoenaed by the FBI. That's going to be my goal. But you know, the craziest thing is when Jennifer Walgamot sued me, I think it was August of 2017, her attorney was Michael D. That would be like me walking into a UFC fight and I actually win. That's not going to happen. I can't beat Michael Dickey in a lawsuit unless I'm right and they're wrong, unless the lawsuit was bogus. And if this is what happened with that one, by the way, in that particular lawsuit, Michael Dickey, the attorney for Jennifer Walgamot, had 73 days to provide discovery. Now, discovery is this. They sue me. They say that I damaged their reputation, right? We each have 30 days to provide answers to our questions in discovery and documents. Well, they kept postponing it, and they ended up going 73 days. So I filed a motion to compel discovery. Michael Dickey never gave me a single document. Wouldn't you think that if they sued me for defamation, they would have documents to prove? Didn't give me a single document. And there are reasons why. He probably knew that she was going to be subpoenaed by the FBI or sued by Panama City, the city of Panama City. It was a bogus lawsuit, and he knows it, and he shouldn't have done that. Now, also, the allegations were absolutely absurd. Incidentally, that particular law firm, Dunlap and Shipman, is the same law firm that Councilman Hector Solis used when he dismissed his lawsuit against me. So let's take a look at what you need, what a public figure needs to do to win a lawsuit, because it's different. There are really two standards, okay? There's one standard when a private citizen who's not a public figure says, you've said something about me that has damaged my reputation, that has hurt my livelihood, and so on and so forth, my position in the community, all of that. If let's say I say something that's neglectful even about a private citizen, they have a good chance of winning a lawsuit. But public figures like county commissioners or talk show hosts, we have a different standard. We have to prove what's called actual malice. And that's nearly impossible. Actual malice means if I were to sue, if I were to sue you, I would have to show that you knew what you were saying was false, not just neglectful, that you knew it was false, and that you continued to say it with reckless disregard. I want to go over some of this with you because I think you're going to find it fascinating. So again, I'm not a lawyer, right? I've just won. I've just defeated some. By the way, Hector Solis had a lawyer too when he sued me for defamation. And I deposed him. Of course, under oath. I had no lawyer. I was the one asking the questions under oath on video. He had an attorney, Mr. D.C. Matthews from the Destin area. He had just gotten him. I think Mr. DC Matthews was shell-shocked when I was finished with my deposition questions, because about 3 weeks later, Mr. DC Matthews was no longer representing Councilman Hector Solis. Irreconcilable differences. So they kind of got a divorce. So, but here's the way it works. Defamation law for public figures. All right. If I sue you and say you hurt my reputation, I'm a public figure. It's governed by a 1964 Supreme Court case. And what that case says is that actual malice has to be shown, right? If I sue you for defamation, I have to show that you knew in your head that what you were saying was false. This is what Commissioner Hamm has to prove against Netflix and Mr. Sony. He has to prove that they knew they were lying, or that they did it with reckless disregard, all these lies. And it must be proven by clear and convincing evidence. Usually in a civil case, it's just a preponderance of evidence, right? In a criminal case, it's beyond reasonable doubt. In a civil case, it's just more likely than not a preponderance of evidence. But when a public figure sues for defamation, like Commissioner Hamm, the evidence has to be clear and convincing, which is beyond preponderance of evidence. Now, when we comment on public figures, when we comment on county commissioners, comments about their past conduct, public or private, by the way, insofar as it touches upon their fitness for office, that's protected speech. When you are a politician, you got to put up with a lot of stuff. When you're a talk show host too, you have to put up with a lot of stuff. Criticism that reflects generally upon an official's integrity and honesty, that's also protected. People, you see it all the time, right? What do we see? Oh, you remember Tricky Dick? Who remembers Tricky Dick? Richard Nixon, right? Or Slick Willie. Who was Slick Willie? Or Mike Pay-to-Play Thomas. Politicians have to put up with a lot of stuff. And criticism of their integrity is fair game when you're in the political arena. Because public figures brought themselves into the public eye. This is sort of how the courts reasoned and came up with two different standards. So they created a need for the public to have information about them. And at the same time, this is important now. Public figures like Tommy Hamm, if Netflix says things about him that he doesn't like, or maybe even that are untrue, he has the ability, unlike a private citizen, to get on the news. And he did with WMBB. He didn't do it with me. He didn't do it with others. He could have, look, if it was me, I would have come on Facebook Live and proven that it was not true. But he chose not to do that. He sort of holed up and threatened to sue everybody. Let's remember this too. This is important when it comes to defamation law. If you sue me and you say Burnie Thompson has ruined my reputation, all right, what is the question at issue? What is the legal question at issue? Your reputation. So guess what gets to be explored? Your reputation. And so if that happens, everything is fair game, because the defense is one, that what you say is true, right? If you sue someone, this is why defamation lawsuits for public figures are really a bad idea, because they open themselves up to everything bad they've ever done. Because the defense is, hey, jury or judge, whichever, we've discovered that so-and-so has been such a bad guy his whole life. There's nothing that, I could have said that would have hurt his reputation. For goodness sakes, look at all the things he's done over the course of his life. For a public figure to sue, Tommy Hamm has a major challenge ahead of him when it comes to proving with clear and convincing evidence that Netflix and Mr. Sony, the director of that documentary, that they knew they were lying. How do you prove that you know somebody's lying? or that they did it with reckless disregard when they were showing on the documentary witnesses, documents, when they confronted him. It's going to be very tough, is what I think it's going to be. And Commissioner Tommy Hamm is opening himself up to a very painful discovery process. Now, here's what I think he's doing. There is an end game here, and his attorneys are not bad ones. In fact, they're top 100 attorneys, okay, in the country, I believe. So I believe this is Commissioner Tommy Hamm's real goal when it comes to suing Netflix. This is just what I believe. It is just conjecture. It's just the only thing I can imagine, because I don't think he's going to go through all the discovery process and go to trial. But big companies don't like to go to trial anyway. They like to settle. And if Tommy Hamm, Commissioner Hamm, can get a settlement from Netflix, and he probably will, because they don't want to go to trial, and he doesn't want to go to trial. So if he gets a settlement, he gets to claim victory, right? The key when politicians sue you to shut you up is to never do that. You go all the way, because the First Amendment is very, very strong in protecting free speech toward public figures. So damages, let's go on. There's more to this. Damages may not be presumed. However, they must be proved, and punitive damages will be recoverable only upon showing actual malice. And the reason it says Times is, again, it goes back to the New York Times versus Sullivan, where the New York Times was sued and won. But these are important points. There are 6 to me, 6 important points. And it's crucial that free speech is not, especially today, think about today's environment. Isn't it crucial that free speech should not be in any way toward politics chilled? People should not be afraid to say things about government officials. People should not be afraid to criticize them, to lampoon them, to call them names, to say they're dishonest if they believe they're dishonest. That's all very, very much protected by the First Amendment and by case precedent. And when politicians try to really try to chill that kind of criticism, it really needs to be defended. So also, by the way, this show is airing live on YouTube, which I'm doing now in this format. And from what I understand, the video is a lot better on YouTube. And I haven't done a whole lot, but I will be now. So if you're not following the YouTube channel, I hope that you will. Also, the reason I can tell you these things is because I don't work for anybody else. I work for you, right? I have sponsors. I have what's called crowdfunding. That's this, by the way. If you want to support what I'm doing, if you go to patreon.com/Burnie Thompson, you can support the show and become a patron. And it really helps, by the way. It really helps me keep the lights on and keep this thing going. So this is the way I see it. And again, I've got a little experience in this. I'm not an attorney. I've just beat a couple. Only because I was telling the truth and they weren't. And both the people who have sued me in the past have been subpoenaed by the FBI. It's a pretty good record on defamation, wouldn't you say? So these are a few key points. I'm going to try and share these with you. Here's what's protected when you say this about a commissioner or a politician. Rhetorical hyperbole is protected, right? You can exaggerate. That's what, especially on a political talk show, for example, which is what I was trying to explain in the court to Councilman Salisa. On a political talk show, rhetorical hyperbole on the internet, by the way, or, you know how I go to the public meetings, or at public meetings by governing boards toward a public figure about matters of public interest, those are all very protected. So Commissioner Tommy Hamm, he is in for, I think, he's in for rough discovery only if though, Netflix decides, only if Netflix decides to take it all the way or to depose him. If they settle during the discovery process, which I think Netflix probably will, then Tommy Hamm gets to claim victory. And I think that's probably his goal. That is my analysis. I want to take a look at what you're saying here. Yes. I appreciate the nice comments, and I'll look this up. I'll look at the comments more after the show, which I'm going to wrap up right now. But again, I hope that you'll share this because people don't understand defamation law. And it is super important to remember that there are two standards when it comes to defamation law. There's a standard for private citizens. If you're a private citizen and you're not in the public eye, and somebody says things that really hurt your chances to work or hurt your reputation, you can sue and you can win because the standard is lower. But if you're a public figure like me, you know what kind of terrible things people say about me, what kind of lies people say about me. You just have to armor up and take it. You just have to refute it with the truth. But when you're a public figure and you don't come out and explain it, then you can't blame people for wondering if it's true or not and for saying things about you. You're a public figure. And Netflix, I mean, it's a documentary, right? They showed quite a bit of evidence. It's going to be interesting, and I'll keep you informed as that goes along. But with that, I'm going to wrap it up, and I just want to thank you for being with me on this new format. I will be doing it more often. I'm not sure exactly when. I'll pop in and out every now and then. But again, please share it. Please make sure people see what is happening, because you're not going to get it from the news. And the reason for that is they're public-private partners. As I continue to tell you, local governments pay local news outlets to run advertisements, and they need those advertising dollars. And therefore, they are partners. And the news, local journalists have become, they're not watchdogs. They're more like lapdogs, but they're certainly partners. Thanks for being with me, and I'll be with you soon.